Everybody, this is Perch, and I had a conversation with a comic writer who we were kind of debating back and forth this whole is DC not publishing comics anymore? And I can't quite tell. I asked, do you want to go on record for any of this? And I didn't get an answer, so I guess I'll keep the guy anonymous. But I'm hoping that he will go on record soon. We've heard from some other creators in the comments of the videos as well. Sean Murphy mentioned that he's got a contract for these things. I think that one really helpful thing that DC could do that would improve their situation dramatically is to go on the record more. And this is a case where, for example, Marie Javins is very good at, I'd say, public speaking and giving statements. She's got a good way about her. If you if you've known her or seen her, she's got a good way of explaining stuff. She just feels natural to some extent in front of the camera, or I don't know the best way to put it. Just you get a sense of confidence when you talk to her. And I think that it would be smart if somebody would get out in front of the camera, pick a couple shows, not mine, not my schmucky little show, but although that'd be great. But anyway, pick some people and put out just some basic statements. Stay away from the bleeding cools, stay away from the places that are kind of gossipy sites, and throw out like some state. Just go on the record, say, you know what, you don't have to respond to this rumor. You don't have to go into what Rich Johnston or Brian Hibbs or a variety of YouTubers are saying. Just lay it out. If you're planning, for example, I believe, because I've been told now several times, that we're going to see a lot of DC Comics in 2021, that they're anything but moving towards stopping printing floppies. I get there's the new term is pamphlets, but I don't like floppies either. I like pamphlets even less. But I mean, just comics. So comics, that they're going to stop publishing comics in 2021. And I know, again, I could be being lied to by 5 different people who are secretly coordinating behind the scenes, but it sounds like we're going to get an increase of DC Comics publishing. Feels like we're getting a pretty major marketing initiative of what's happening in March. Now, the fact that we're getting that doesn't necessarily mean to be good. I mean, who knows? The creative teams in these titles could be unveiled, and we could look at it and go, I don't want that. That's a whole different topic. But the basic, seemingly fact is that we are, within the next 2 weeks, going to get announcements of marketing initiatives and creative plans and other things, and at least some proof that there are going to be printed comics, going to the direct market throughout 2021 and well into 2022, with no real plans to stop that. But again, to me, the antidote is not me third hand or second hand or whatever saying, hey, here's what I've heard, and I can't name my sources because I shouldn't. It would be for those people themselves to go out and make a statement. But the pushback that I was getting, and I've tried to toy around with this in my head, is we shouldn't even be giving those people, and I guess in this case, those people are people like Brian Hibbs or Ethan Van Sciver or so on. We shouldn't even be giving them the time of day. It's such a ridiculous rumor that by acknowledging that rumor, we're just giving them attention. That's the reason that's been given. And I guess I get that point. I get it. I get that the idea of like somebody throws something out and you can't spend your life responding to every rumor, but also at some point you need to set the record straight of what your plans are. And I guess for DC, the intent is they're going to set the record straight via their announcements in about 2 weeks or so after Black Friday, and then what they announce on March, that's going to be them setting the record straight. But if I was in their position, if I was there in their leadership, I would be saying, hey, when the noise gets loud enough, then rather than continue to have other people be, your marketing department, take control of it yourself. And you don't have to go in there and say, hey, Brian Hibbs is wrong. Rich Johnson, Bleeding Cool, is wrong. By the way, Bleeding Cool has caused DC a number of headaches over the last year and a half. What confuses me is how many people at DC could still acknowledge, they'll still go to Bleeding Cool to do announcements or to do things like, why? Like, why are you doing that? If truly the approach is, don't acknowledge what a Brian Hibbs or Ethan Van Sciver is saying. Why are you acknowledging why are you giving then Rich Johnston the time of day? He's arguably causing you even more headaches than anyone else in terms of that stuff. But I don't know. That's just, nobody can answer that question for me. I think that if you have a story to tell, if you have a marketing plan, everything else, put it forward. I don't think it does any good to let other people run with it if you can prove that it's false. And I think but one thing, the thing about rumors is, it's hard to prove that they're false. I mean, I think it's been very, very proven at this point that a lot of what Rich Johnson reported on 5G and everything else has been proven false. It was not true. It was invented. It was coming either from the site itself and their own kind of imaginations, or disgruntled staffers, or maybe, I kind of hope for this to be true, some crazy deep operative inside DC who was trying to see what they could get away with getting the site to publish without backing it up. But the problem is, even when time is the antidote, even when time has come out and proven that these things were not true, the argument becomes, well, DC changed their minds. Yeah, well, now it was going to be true, but then they made an abrupt shift and everything else, and that's not true. I mean, we know from how long it takes for comics to get made and promoted and get the artwork solicited and all the rest, and we know that it's not true. Now, DC, zero doubt. I mean, I don't think anyone could credibly claim that DC has not had a year of some level of chaos. Now, you may bristle at the word chaos, but there's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of last second changes. There's been a lot of, make one plan and change it to a different plan. And there's been a lot of that over the year at DC. It's been a chaotic year for everybody. And DC's had its share of chaos. It remains to be seen, and I think we don't know yet whether all of the changes they made, going to their own distributor, doing everything that they've done, whether it's going to work out or not. We don't know, and only time is going to prove whether it was a good bet or not. But I think one thing that I think we could say with some authority or some state of fact is that by and large, their problems have been magnified by DC often being radio silent about their plans. So if I was DC management, I would set the record straight. And again, I would say you have a gift in the sense of Marie Javins is good at that job. If you've heard her talk, if you've heard her explain things, she's got a calming, no nonsense she's just got a good formula of how she presents. And I think you've got as I said, you have a gift if you're DC right now, and you've got this person who's now in a leadership position there who you could very easily roll out. I'll say this, I like Jim Lee's artwork, but I think Jim Lee is not great at that job. But what I mean by that is, like, he can come out and give a statement, but he doesn't describe things in a very straightforward way, and he comes across as slightly uncomfortable in what he's doing. I think you've got other people. Tom King he always comes across super uncomfortable, and there's a certain level of just, it's hard to tell what's going on with King. But you have other people. I think Scott Snyder. I think Sean Gordon Murphy. I think those two guys are really good at coming across as easygoing and factual and relatable. By and large, when they give conversations. But again, Marie Javins is in a leadership position. I think she should come out and make a statement and say, no, here's what we're doing. And you don't have to come out and say all those other people are wrong. You don't have to acknowledge all those other people. You can basically state your position simply of saying, in March, we're doing this, and it's going to lead to more titles through the summer. And we're probably looking at about 40 to 45 titles monthly that we're going to be doing across the different brands. And that's going to continue throughout 2021. And we're lining up and making plans for 2022 and big things that we want to do. We got some great creatives there, and you're going to hear about some of them in a week, and you're going to hear more in the months to come. But that's what we're doing. Basically, state it. You don't need to come out there and say, those other guys, they're liars. You don't get into that at all. You don't need to give that any oxygen. Just state it. If you don't, then you can argue it shouldn't be. And this is it wasn't an argument. I mean, because I get his point. if you don't do that, then somebody else is setting the narrative. And then if somebody else is setting the narrative, you can't really blame people for going along with it. And I guess this is the part that kind of frustrates me a little bit, is that there's this attitude from several people that are in the company of, why is anyone believing this stuff? Why is anyone believing a Hibbs or an EVS? Why are they believing them? You know, we're making all these plans, we're doing all these big things. Why is anyone believing what these guys have to say? And the answer is, because you haven't told anyone your plans. You haven't laid it out. You haven't said anything. So the only person talking is giving a perspective. Nobody's refuting it or giving an alternate perspective. And so they're going to go with what they hear. They're going to go with, what they know. I'll be honest. I feel like I've done more to try and, explain what DC is doing than DC is. And I'm not on the payroll. I mean, clearly, as you could tell, I mean, there's tons of DC creators who are lining up to do interviews with me. I mean, but I don't. You can't be surprised. You can be annoyed if people are believing something that is not true about your company. You can be annoyed by it, sure, but if you're not putting out a different story, then what do you expect? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what do you expect is going to happen? I mean, I often feel like people say, hey, I don't know why anyone listens to EVS in comics. They say, I don't know why anybody fits that guy anytime. I don't know why anybody listens to him. And I've said before, well, I do. He's been in the business for a long time. He's worked for both the major companies. He knows a lot of the names. Whether he's actively connected to people now or just was in the past, he's played in that space. But more importantly, he's talking every day. He's out, telling his story every single day, or most days, or however many days. He's going on streams. He's doing his own things. So what do you expect? You've got somebody out there who's been in the industry, done work for it. Now you could say, oh yeah, but he's hateful and he does all these bad things. You could say that, sure. But again, if you've got one person talking and another side that's silent, the person who's talking is going to persuade some people. Because that's all you have to go on. So if that really drives you crazy, whoever it is, I mean, I understand EVS is a polarizing figure for some. I mean, you can go to Hibbs. He's also polarizing, but much less so because, fewer people know who he is. But like, if faced with silence or noise, some people are going to go with the noise because there's nothing to go on with the silence. This isn't a matter of what's right or not right or fair or not fair. It's just reality. I mean, I don't know why this is a complicated topic. I urge DC, if for those of you who are listening, and I know several of you are, just set the record straight. And maybe setting the record straight is a bad way to say it, because again, if it bothers you to give oxygen to somebody's stories that you don't like, you don't have to reference it. You can just say what you're doing. That's what you should do. And again, I will say for the record, for whatever it's worth, because I think a lot of people don't really even know these people, that Marie Javins is good at doing this, like legitimately good at doing this. You can look up videos. You can see a little bit of her, giving various comments on her travels and other things that she's done. She's good at this. Like, put her in, coach. Like, I don't know. This topic is crazy to me. Just a little bit. This topic just, I don't know why it's so complicated for people. It's not a complicated topic at all. But I don't know. It is what it is. What about you? What do you think of all this? Should DC say something or should they just continue to ignore it? What would you do if you were in charge? What would be your game plan? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, but most importantly, thanks for listening.